Hey everyone, it's Anna and Tucker, and we hope you're having a great day today. In today's video, I want to discuss my thoughts with you on a new book that's being released in June called The Poppy Fields by Nikki Erlick. I was fortunate enough to receive an advanced reader's copy of this book, and I recently finished it, and I thought it posed some really interesting philosophical questions. And so I thought I would share my thoughts with you about it today. So first, I want to say that I absolutely loved this book, and I would give it a 5-paw rating. At its core, The Poppy Fields is a story that poses the question, if you could take the easy way out in dealing with some sort of substantial grief that you have, getting over the loss of a loved one, getting over the loss of something, so great and substantial in your life, it causes you to go through an immense grieving process. Would you take the easy way out? So this story follows 2 sets of characters. Our first set of characters is a bit of an eclectic mix of strangers who don't know each other in the beginning of the book, but they are all drawn together because they are all trying to make their way out to California from Kansas. There's a big storm and their flight gets canceled, and instead of waiting for another flight to take the next day or the day after, something like that, they rent a car and decide that they are going to drive together out west to California to the Poppy Fields. The Poppy Fields is run by this kind of mysterious, enigmatic, brilliant doctor who came up with a new experimental treatment for grief. She discovered that just like any other kind of illness, our bodies tend to heal when we sleep. And so she posed the question, well, can people heal from grief through the same process? And the book itself is fairly light on the scientific portion of this, but it's enough to convince you that yes, it would be possible to devise a treatment that kind of puts people into a temporary coma, and when they're in this coma, they are able to let their body rest and heal and process this grief. And when they wake up, they feel much better. They're no longer in pain and having a lot of sorrow and having this grief sort of rule their lives and kind of stop everything that's going on. But within this process, there is a pretty substantial side effect. And the side effect is that some people wake up losing all the emotion that was attached to whatever they were grieving. And so if you were grieving the loss of a person, you wake up and you still have all your memories of whatever you were to that person or whatever that person was to you, but you no longer feel the love and the emotion associated with that. It's kind of like a story that you kind of know about, but you didn't really participate in. And so this treatment, because it is still experimental, is very controversial. People that wake up with this side effect, they go back to their normal lives, and everyone else that didn't go through this treatment is upset, right? Because now the rest of the people can't go through the same grieving process because they don't have that support system. The person that chose to sleep at the poppy field can no longer be a supportive element to anyone else's grieving process. And so these 4 strangers, they each have their own reason for wanting to go to the poppy field. And some of those reasons are not revealed right away. And in fact, they all are hiding something from one another. And so we have Ray, who is a firefighter, whose brother went to go sleep at the field. We have Sasha, who is grieving her fiance and is trying to get to the poppy field to try to get the doctor to change her mind and accept her application instead of the decline that she initially got. We have Amy, whose sister works at the poppy field, who she hasn't had contact with in a very long time, and that relationship is kind of broken, and she wants to try to mend it. And then we have Sky, who is a teenager just fresh out of high school and wants to experience the world. And she's a bit of a carefree spirit. And so the book is really about the journey that both these four strangers make, and the things that they learn about themselves on the way to the poppy field. And the book is also about the doctor who came up with the treatment and how she processes grief herself. And she questions whether or not this treatment is right. Like, she still believes in it, but she's really hesitant to expand it, and she really wants to find a solution for the side effect, and she's very driven by this. But you're not really given the full reason why. And so that's kind of where I will end my synopsis of the book, because if I tell you any more, then it'll kind of ruin the book. And I think that's pretty good to kind of give you an idea of what the book is about. So as I said in the beginning of the video, this book really poses a very philosophical question and recognizes that each of us process grief in our own ways. But the process of that is always difficult, and some people are never able to fully get through it and move on with their lives. So what if we had an easy street? What if we just had this simple solution? Is it worth the potential cost? Because when people go to sleep, they don't know whether or not they're going to be waking up with the side effect. So it is a bit of a gamble. And so there were a lot of things that I really liked about this book. I like the ensemble characters. I think it is, with this type of philosophical question, it's important to get several different viewpoints and see how they compare and contrast. And, you know, everyone is going to have a different opinion, and everyone is going to go through a slightly different process for something very, very common that we all experience as humans. And so when I was reading this book, it really made me think whether or not I would choose this treatment. And to be honest, I don't really know. And the main reason why I don't know is because I have been very fortunate in my life to have not had to experience that type of loss of a loved one just yet. I know it's coming, it is inevitable, and it is a fact of life, but I have been extremely fortunate to have not experienced something like that. But regardless, it doesn't mean that I'm not able to sympathize with the characters and still think about what I might do. And so, sure enough, there is a very minor character in the book that came along who decides to go to sleep for a different reason. He's not grieving a person. He's actually grieving the loss of his ability to do something. And this loss of that ability is quite intense. It really affected every facet of his life. And so I identified with that character because I myself went through something like that, very similar, and the choice was taken from me. It was something that was, I guess, done to me and not my choice, and it completely derailed my life, and I had to come up with something else. And I'm still, years and years later, still trying to figure out that something else. And so in that way, I was able to identify with the book and ask myself if I would choose to sleep if I had the option. And I don't know. I want to say no. I want to say that I would not, because even though it is a very painful thing to go through, I think the that's the way we learn and we grow, and it forces us to find a new path, if that makes any sense. The other thing that I really enjoyed about this book is that there were lots of very subtle nods to The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. When I originally saw this book was going to be released, and I saw the title and even the cover, and then I read the very short synopsis that was available at the time, it made me think that perhaps this was a bit of a retelling of The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. And after having read it, I realized it's not a retelling at all, but there are some parallels to the story, and there are some very subtle nods or Easter eggs, if you will, sprinkled throughout the novel that are kind of fun to find. They're fun to look for, and when I kind of made a connection when I was reading, it was like, oh, a little light bulb went off, and I was like, ah, yes, I see how that works. And so those things were kind of fun. But I think the real parallel between The Wizard of Oz and The Poppy Field, this current book, is that it's about the journey home. And, you know, these four characters, they're not journeying home, they're journeying somewhere else. But it's about the journey home from the grief that you are experiencing, right? Because grief takes us somewhere else. Grief takes us somewhere way outside of our comfort zone and out of our element. And it is a journey and a process for everyone to find their way back. And what does that mean? What does it mean to come home from that type of loss? And so in that way, I think that is where the parallel is to this story. I won't tell you all of the Easter eggs because those are kind of fun to find on your own. But I will say, you know, you're not really looking for a one-to-one parody in a lot of ways. You know, there's some symbolism that pops up. There isn't a one-to-one character situation. There were some characters that I thought might be good representatives of characters in the Wizard of Oz, but I could be wrong. There were also some characters that could kind of like be more than one character symbolically, I think, as well. And so, you know, you're on two journeys, I think, in this book. One, you're on a journey of what your own trip through grief either was or currently is, if you happen to be going through a period where you are trying to process some grief, or you're on a kind of metaphorical journey and, you know, through what your process of grief might be like if you had this other option available to you. And then you're also kind of on this mini journey of trying to figure out where the parallels to the other story might be. And so it makes for a few more light moments in a book that is overall very, you know, serious and reflective. I wouldn't say it's a particularly sad story. There are some sad moments, but it's definitely not a happy story by any means. And that's okay. I don't always need a happy story. I think that the ending ended very nicely. I think it was appropriate. The ending was appropriate for what the book makes you think about and what questions the book kind of brings up. I think that the writing was very beautiful. I think grief is a very difficult thing to deal with, and the writing in this book deals with a very difficult subject in a very calming and very like gentle way. It's not overly preachy one way or the other. It could lead the reader down several paths. There are very many options for the reader to come to at the end. You know, regardless of where the characters end up, you can come to your own conclusion. There is a nice mix of different perspectives, like I said, in the book. It is, you know, mostly told in third person, but there is a little bit of mixed media throughout. Occasionally you get like an article, or you get a transcript of an interview of a potential patient, and, you know, why they are grieving and why they want to sleep. And so those different perspectives are interesting. You also get a couple of news articles, perspectives arguing against this treatment. There's a group in the book, that is trying to stop the sleep, and they're very against it. And so you get all these different little perspectives. There's even a couple of kind of social media type commentary perspectives that's very interesting. And so I think that the author was very creative in the various ways she was able to present a multitude of viewpoints on this very difficult topic that everyone's got an opinion on, and we're all never going to be quite in agreement on what the proper way to deal with grief is. And that's okay. We are all, emotional creatures who are entitled to process things in our own way. That's pretty much it. Those are my thoughts on the poppy field. I am very much looking forward to my own physical copy that is on pre-order. The deluxe edition is going to be released, I believe, June 17th. And I am really looking forward to it. I think that this is a fabulous book to read if you love books that will make you reflect about life and your beliefs, or if you are going through a period of grief right now and you just kind of need a book to commiserate with you. I think this is a very good choice for that option as well. I hope you enjoyed this book review, and again, I want to thank the publishers at HarperCollins and William Morrow for sending me an advance copy of the book. I really appreciate it. If you like this content, please feel free to like and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate the support, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Bye.